Okay, so we're here today with Dr. Buras
My name is Nir Buras.
to talk about London's architecture. How are we feeling today, Dr. Buras?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, I'm really flattered to be here with you. Ostensibly, I don't know anything about London or its architecture, but I want to share with you what we call at the Classic Planning Institute architectural literacy, which means that you can read a building and understand it even if they don't have a degree in architecture. The most important rule is that everything has three parts. So you're looking here and you've got the middle part, you got the part on the right, the part on the left. You have the bottom part, you got the middle part, you got the top part. Everything has three parts. You can assume that it's got a front, a middle, and a back as well.
Is that a general rule for
Everything in the universe has three
everything
parts.
in the universe.
Yeah, you have a top, a middle, and a bottom. We're all like that. The other thing that is really cool to know, it's kind of the Goldilocks rule. Everything comes in three sizes: small, medium, and large. So you see here, the columns are big. You see over there on the in the middle pavilion, they're a middle size, and then next to them are even smaller, thinner ones. Everything comes in three sizes. You will also see that the windows, you have big windows, medium windows, and small windows on top. That's the way it works.
That's the way the universe works.
That's the way the universe works. The key to it all is what we call the order. And that is the column, which sits on a pedestal, in this case, double columns, and then all that stuff that comes on top of it. And you see that on top of it, it's got something that is divided into three parts.
Again, three parts.
Three parts. Once you know this, you have your order, that whole bit on top, it has a name. You want to know this name. It's an entablature.
An entablature.
An entablature.
Entablature.
So that is an entablature, and it's divided into three parts: cornice, the frieze, and the architrave. Cornice, frieze, architrave.
Ooh.
Can you say architrave?
Architrave.
Yes, that's it. And,
And that's the three parts.
those are the three parts. Now, you can see it on the building next door. Do you want to show us the building next door? We're looking here at the building, and I asked you to say what was the beauty scale that you thought it was.
I thought it was an 8.5.
The building is pretty, yes. I would have given an automatic 8. And yeah, it's a little prettier than 8, maybe 8.3, but look at how close we are.
Yeah.
And the reason we're so close is that this pre-attentive aesthetic perception is universal. And the differences between different people trying it out is going to be 1 point, maximum 2 points. It is more predictable than modern medicine. Modern medicine has a 30% placebo effect, so the predictability is only 70%. Here, the predictability is 90% or so. So when you're doing the built environment, we're really here because all this ugly stuff has been built around the world in the last 50 to 100 years. It has caused global warming. It's the largest single cause of global warming is the metal and glass buildings and the concrete and cement and everything. And here we're looking at something that was a system that came before, that was fully holistic, worked very well, everybody loved it, and we're very happy to reintroduce it into the world as a way that might take us forward in a holistic manner.
So where are we going now?
We're going in that direction. We're going as far as it'll take us.
Okay.
This is Pall Mall, what they call.
Pall Mall. There's a lot of pillars over there.
Well, it's only 4.
And this?
Oh yeah, you're right. Those are engaged columns.
Okay.
They are stuck to the wall.
Okay, so when they're embedded, they're engaged columns.
They're embedded.
Okay.
They're engaged. One of the things you want to know is that the columns become more slender at their top.
Is there a reason for that?
The reason for that is called entasis.
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 Here's the thing. The lens of your eye is conical, and therefore you're going to see curved lines, not straight lines. But you want to give an illusion, of stability. So you have to create an illusion of being straight.
Oh, okay.
And to give the illusion that the columns are perfectly regular up to the top, they're actually made more slender. and that corrects for your vision.
I wouldn't have noticed that, I think. If you
So
didn't
you'll notice now
point it
that
out.
about a third of the way up the column, it starts narrowing. It's not a straight line.
Mhm.
It's
It goes-
it's a little curved. It's a very, very slender ellipse or hyperbola, whatever. A little section of something curved. I'm not going to get into that, but you do see here a much more articulated ionic, where you have not only the volutes, but you have the garlands coming down on the sides. You've got some expression in the middle where they're meeting together. They're also coming out at 45 degrees so that you have a column that no matter where you're looking at it, it doesn't have a front and a side. All the sides are equal. And I'm speaking to you actually like I would speak to an architect because it's only one language. It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
and it's all visual, so you get it.
No, exactly. And
know?
now I know about the 3 parts.
Yes. It's really that simple. Shall we move on?
Yes.
I want to get us to Regent Street.
And that you said was one of your favorite streets
That's one of my favorite
on the
streets.
entire planet.
Well, yes. The bottoms of many of these buildings as we go, you'll see the bottoms they look like big cut stones.
Okay.
And that's called rustication. It's to make it appear rustic.
Rusticationist. Okay.
And it is to signify large quarry cut stones that you'd simply use on the ground level where you expect traffic and horses and noise and revolutions and what have you happening.
Yeah.
So they give so many of these buildings a sense of a strong base with the other stuff lighter, much lighter feeling above it that produces this lightness of being in the classical manner.
Hey.
Here, some of that rustication is articulated even further with the carving that happens on the cornerstones. Those corners are called coins, which is really coin in French, means corner. Corner is corner, but you know, crossed the channel and became a word, whatever.
Yeah.
What you see here is really interesting, and this is very common.
This is beautiful too.
Of course it is. It's classical. Well, the future of modernism is classical. You understand that by now.
Yeah.
They're talking to each other. You know?
These 2 buildings right there.
Yeah, but everybody's talking to everybody, like birds in a tree singing to each other around this whole beautiful St. James's Square. I think the Greeks really gave us something unique to all cultures. The idea that we can talk about anything and reason through everything, all the way to the meaning of life. And the music is always appropriate. The idea that we can talk about anything and reason through anything created an ambiance where they really could explore ideas, and they did, in ways that are far surpass other cultures in terms of their interests. By the way, this is not about superiority. This is simply about access, okay? It's access to some kind of understanding. The Greeks understood that truth, goodness, and beauty is one thing, and that this unity describes holism, but it's also a description of the universe. Can we continue walking?
Yeah, of course.
By the way, there is a tradition of talking philosophy while walking in gardens. It's a very significant kind of tradition. The idea of truth, goodness, and beauty being a unity was reflected in the world of construction by an architect who worked for Augustus Caesar. His name was Marco Polio Vitruvius, and he was really not an architect. He was a military engineer. He needed a pension. He decided he'd write a book, and Augustus gave him his pension for writing the book. And this guy wrote the only book remaining from antiquity that describes construction. And he translated truth, goodness, and beauty into the words utilitas, firmitas, venustas. Firmness, commodity, delight. That was the translation into English. So this has actually come to us from a philosophical level to an algorithmic level, and then appears in the actual architecture, because you're looking at something, just that wall straight ahead. It has firmness, it's commodious, obviously you can do a lot of stuff back on the other side of it, and it has a modicum of beauty appropriate to it. Whatever it is, it's a church of some sort. And here we're on yet another street with some more of the same.
Yep.
But they're all different.
Definitely a lot different than what we were looking at.
And you can identify, remember where you are. The thing is, from the neuroscience, we know that modernist architecture is not processed by the brain. It simply confounds the brain the way those forms come. They make no sense to the brain, and it stresses the person because the brain's not telling you what this is and where you are. That's part of what's going on.
But then how does one process it, I guess, if not
That's a
with
very
the
good.
brain?
Yes, it all gets processed in the brain. What you actually see with the brain is sets of lines. See with your eyes, not the brain.
Okay.
You see sets of lines. I'm not going to talk about color at all.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about motion either. What your eye sees is edges. That's your eye. Then it goes to the brain and gets processed, and that's why it takes children 3, 4, 5, 6 years to calibrate their brains to know what the adults are telling them they're looking at or their experience tells them. But basically, you have to imagine this. You're looking at sets of lines. Think of leaves. Leaves are the same pattern of lines. They're repeating, but at different scales, different orientations. You know it's part of a tree. You know the bark of a tree. It's repetitive. You can identify the tree, but it's never the same.
No.
You can look at the branches of a tree. No two trees are identical, but they all have the same kind of
You
branching.
still know it's a tree.
So a tree itself has 3 of these types of patterns. And these kind of patterns, because they're self-similar and repetitive at different scales, there's a name for these. These are fractals.
Fractors.
Fractals.
Fractals.
Mountains are fractal. As a matter of fact, let me invite you to my cave in pre-Stone Age, and you know, in 50,000 years ago in the Serengeti. Would you like to join me in my cave?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's
Why
go.
not? All right, where is this cave of yours?
Here you have this kind of a sense of pressure, so it bulges over here. Here you have suction, so it gets narrower. So you've got this compression and tension going on this way. It's part of the articulation to make something appear massively strong and also light enough that it doesn't offend you. This is music, okay? So think of it as concretized music. You're giving a strong beat, but you're also having the violins play something soft on a strong beat at the same time. So this is art. What can I tell you? So let's walk around the corner
art.
here. This is
Music,
definitely
it's art.
and the architecture has been called concretized music.
We're on Swallow Street now.
Yes, and this will take us where we're going. What you're looking at over here is some small London street. It's on axis with a church over here, so you know that this was a neighborhood condition. Over there, you see that the wall is on an angle. It's meeting something else really important urbanly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be, or something different, not important. Urbanly, I sort of let the cat out of the bag because Regent Street is right at the end of that.
Okay.
I want to get us to Regent Street. That's one of my favorite
On the
streets.
entire planet.
What you're looking at over here, this is the finest Georgian architecture, John Nash, and this is the back of the building. This is the utilitarian back side of the building, and he put in the windows because they just needed for the interior spaces. And this is the back side, the rear side of Regent Street. So we're going to go in that direction.
Okay.
And we're going to pop out on Regent Street through one of these beautiful, massively articulated arches.
So if it looks like that from the back, then it must be really beautiful from the front.
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Okay, it's going to be a little surprise.
Yeah.
Catch me off guard a little bit.
Well, you like to know where you're going.
Yeah, I do.
This way, you can read that you're going towards somewhere significant. And if you look carefully at the very right end of what you can see of that wall, see something's going on over there. You've got this rustication starting to appear. So John Nash, he came from Wales. I think he was an Englishman from Wales or something like that. And he started work in London and got put in debtor's prison pretty quick. He went back to Wales and reestablished his career. Is this a good enough arch for you? Would you like something else?
That's beautiful. I mean, it's very grand.
It's not bad, right?
No, not at all.
So this is, and look at the rest of the wall.
Wow.
This is developer architecture. It was not that expensive to build. It's called Regent Street because the Regent owned it.
Oh, okay. So
He became George IV, I think, and he was in real estate. He also did Regent's Park and Regent Terraces and some other developments, and Nash was his architect. Because of him that Nash got to do Buckingham Palace at the end of his career. Nash did some other work for him, but this was a development project, much like Poundbury is for King Charles. By now, you know how to read everything.
I mean, I think those are Doric, right?
Yes. You're awesome.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You got it down. Look over there. So you have an arch, right? You have an arch. You can see it over here. The center stone in an arch is called a keystone.
The one right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Because you have to prop everything up until you put the last stone in, and then you take out your scaffold, the arch will stay.
Yeah.
So look what happened there in the keystone. It became the pedestal for the columns, but also it is the railing for that window, balcony.
Everything has a purpose.
And a multiple purpose. It's all double duty.
It's multifunctional.
We together are reading the score to an opera. And we're hearing the melody because we know how to read notes.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. And the only way to really communicate it is through experience. Classical architecture does not photograph well.
No?
No.
How come?
It has to be experienced three-dimensionally. It has a time element, and the time element is both associated with the idea of durability and with the idea of processing, of walking through it, because you have to experience it yourself.
Yeah.
It's not an idea.
No.
It's an experience. Let's go in that direction a little bit.
It's a very fancy building for a Uniqlo, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. And it'll be something else sooner than later.
Yeah.
I forgot about our sitting in the cave in
Oh, yeah.
Serengeti. But what you actually see here in all directions, you're looking at multiple fractal stuff. And there are 8 fractal patterns occurring.
8.
They are not geometric, they are proportional.
Oh.
They are relationships between sets of 3 lines. Number 1 is symmetry, and you have a lot of symmetry everywhere here. The next one is large and small. And if you look at all the walls, there's a relationship between the window opening and the amount of wall on the side.
Wow.
And it's roughly a golden section, you know, like a nautilus. It's that proportion happening in the wall, but it's also happening in, for example, up to here is 0.618 from here to there. Oh my God. That is the golden section proportion. You have your golden section running everywhere, all the time. Each one of these proportions is a statistical fractal. So like in a tree, you have 3 fractals, the leaves, the branches, the bark, and you love it.
Yeah.
Here you've got the equality, the differentiation. You're bound to like it.
Oh my God.
It shows the individual human hand of the architect. It shows the imprint of the age. It shows the culture that it happens in. It's all built into the system. And It's a method. We're looking at a small part of it, which is European classical, specifically English. 19th century, John Nash.
Nash.
This also suits all the art. It's true for all the other architectures of the world. And that's what makes it special.
See, I would have never known this about architecture.
Well, me neither.
I would have not figured that there's so much to it.
The fact of the matter is that it has to reflect life. So it reflects life in its being, and it's like music. Any good music reflects all of life in its moments, in its things. It goes through a transformation from the rustling of the leaves and the crashing of the waves. It becomes transformed into notes. Here, from all this mental processing that happens in the brain, it takes you to shapes that give you a comfort level. And this is where we're at. This is, I think, what we're moving forward to. Because the stress that's caused by everything else is just not worth it. We live in a PTSD world. The experience of modernist space is traumatic. I think that all the thinking people in the world understand this. You follow the rules, or you're a trader. I'm a trader. I mean, it's harder to, I have a PhD in modernism. It's harder to become a classicist than coming out of the closet. You know, shunned and mocked by all of my colleagues at the time.
Why? Because you wanted to...
Because I don't believe in the dogma. We went the wrong way.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we need to go that way. We got lost and found ourselves in Chinatown. And what a perfect place.
What a happy accident.
What a happy accident. And one of the wonderful things is you can literally see here the marriage of East and West on the buildings around. There's no conflict. Everything fits perfectly well. At the end of the day, this is the story of humanity, as described by bricks and stones. And it's really just one story. So join us at the Classic Planning Institute. Buy the book if you have any interest in beauty in the built environment, and help support us do the laboratory work, the neuroscience research, the street building research that we started engaging in now, and hire the Classic Planning Studio for your projects, for your community, or for your own self. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Buras. It's been amazing.
It's been very, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy birthday. It's his birthday, everybody.
Oh, thank you. This is the best birthday gift I could get. Thank you.